get the whole hearing?
Trinity Young.
Thank you. Members of the public may address the board on any item within the jurisdiction of the board by submitting a presentation request to the secretary. Members of the public are strongly urged not to mention personnel by name and are reminded that they are not immune from any action in personnel argument. The board may limit each speaker to 3 minutes and a total of 20 minutes at a time. People wishing to speak on items that are on the board agenda will be called upon when that item is considered. People wishing to speak on items that are not on the board agenda will be called upon at this time. Since the board cannot take action on items that are not on the board agenda, such items will be referred to the superintendent panel. Ms. Ojeda?
I'm back again. Hi guys. You guys in the past have thanked people for coming to board meetings, have welcomed them to come back, have appreciated when there's been a crowd here. And often we come because we have questions, concerns, comments that we bring to you and to the superintendent, hoping for some answers. We still don't have any answers. So I know that you asked us to come and ask us to talk, and I'm asking you to provide some answers to some of these questions that I have. And if you don't have answers to these questions, I encourage the 5 of you to get answers. I think that's your job, is to find solutions to these problems and to figure out why we're having them and get to the bottom of it. So my first topic is Southern Kern Preparatory Academy. In open session several meetings ago, Ms. Hargis stated that SKPA will not be cut, but instead will be moved. My first question is, where will SKPA be moved?
Can we answer that?
Yeah.
If you have an answer, please.
Yeah.
So the Kern Academy is moved to Abraham Lincoln. Currently, we've applied for a college board member, which is required to play UC doorways, and so that way we can use the Apex, just very similar to the Southern Kern Prep Academy. So I'm certainly working on that.
Okay. My second question is, how does moving SKPA to Abraham Lincoln save the district money?
We have fewer teachers. We're going to turn the Abraham Lincoln. We're going to redesign it so that it is more of the Prep Academy features, where students will be able to go and do electives, do the college classes, those type of things, and that's what we choose to do.
So how will they do the electives if they're not on the Rosamond High School campus?
Abraham Lincoln is connected to the Rosamond High School campus by a gate, so they will just be able to go through the gate and participate.
Doesn't it seem easier just to leave it where it's at?
Again, we needed fewer staff members, so we will retain the 4 Abraham Lincoln staff members that we have, and it will be facilitated from there.
Okay. Are you aware that moving SKPA to Abraham Lincoln will cost the district money in the fact that you will lose students?
It will be we will make the same program, so whether it's, in
But a student graduating from SKPA now gets a Rosamond High School diploma. If you move into Abe Lincoln, they will not get a Rosamond High School diploma.
Abraham Lincoln is a law school graduate, just like Rosamond High School.
But at this time, like I said, nothing is A through G compliant. And I know that you're working on that, but I already know. I have kids in my class, and hearing this, I will tell her tomorrow. She said I need to know by March 15th so I can enroll somewhere else. I have 2 other students that are already gone at the end of the year. So that's 3 just to start with. And if it's not at Rosamond High School, I know that kids won't go there. That's one of the main questions we get when kids transfer from the high school to SKPA, whether it's full-time or blended. They say, what will my diploma say? Will it say Rosamond High School? That's the parents' concern. Parents don't want their kids to have a diploma that says Abraham Lincoln. That's 100% true. They don't. And it's going to take some time, years I would imagine, to get rid of the stigma that follows it. And again, it seems like you're using SKPA to make Abraham Lincoln look better, and I'm just not sure what the motivation is behind that. Because you're hurting Rosamond High School kids. There's nothing behind it? Okay. Moving on to topic number 2. The Air Force JROTC. JROTC, that's right. Ms. Hargis, you stated in open session when all the kids were here and Ms. Reeder was talking about the posting of a position for ROTC, and it was asked if you would be posting the position not just as the minimum, the MIP, the MIP, but if it would be posted what we actually pay our instructors, which is MIP plus a stipend, and you assured everyone that it would in fact be posted properly. Everyone remembers that?
Yes.
Yes, that it would be posted properly, right?
Yes, and HR is working on that.
Well, not according to HR, but
Check with her tomorrow.
this is the posting from, I can pass you guys out a couple of copies if you'd like to see us highlighted it for you. Where's the yellow? And you can clearly see on there that it says nothing more. It has the minimum, that's it. If you look right above it, Desert High School has a posting, and in their little memo box, what does it say? Oh, we included $10,000 plus. That's incentive. That's how we get people to take a job here. If you're asking an officer to come out of retirement to teach high school students and you only want to give them the minimum, no wonder people aren't applying.
Well, there's some for 2,000 too, to be fair.
And others that are
For what? I'm
For
sorry.
$2,000.
No, but if you look at the Edwards Air Force Base,
Yeah, but there's some for Apple Valley.
oh, I know, but I'm talking about somewhere that's close to us.
Yeah,
So just,
60. We understand that, and we just
So-
found out about that, and we,
because this has been posted since February 8th, it's almost a month, and we still haven't done anything. And I know that people have worked with HR, people have worked with the superintendent to make this change, and it still hasn't happened. So why?
As I said before, HR is working on understanding what that MIP is with the Air Force, and we will get it posted appropriately.
We've had someone working for us for multiple years in a position. I think we all know what it is. No, what I'm saying, I imagine that HR and the superintendent would be aware of what we're paying the people that work for us. And if you don't, then that's a problem in itself, I would imagine.
well, the board has, we have asked for the district to find out what the MIP is, as well as look at the comparables around us, and if anything, so we have you, Mr. Director.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. I know that Mr. Joyce wrote a nice article about that ROTC has been saved, but at this moment it's very much in danger because we don't have a second teacher. And there's a high possibility that you won't even have the one teacher. So I encourage you guys to push to get answers, push to get this rectified, push to see this posted the proper way so that we can indeed make the story true. So please, keep pushing, keep asking questions, please get some answers, and share the good news with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Student report?
Alright, so seniors are going to Disneyland for $100 and the Universal Studios for $75. Prom tickets are $85 and will increase each month. Girls basketball is selling evening discount cards for $10 each. Freshmen and ASB are selling cookie dough for $17 for 2 pounds. The Museum of Tolerance trip has been rescheduled for March 26th. Tomorrow, baseball has a game against Desert Christian at home.
ASB will be hosting the pep rally on March 20th, and it will be held in the TMS gym. Student basketball field trip will be to Disneyland. March Madness is next week. Monday, pajama day. Tuesday, Disney Year. Wednesday, twin day. Thursday, crazy socks and glasses. And Friday is Jersey day. Talent show auditions will be held on March 7th after school. The talent show will be on March 28th. Beginning Band is going to a festival at Little Rock High School. It will take place tomorrow at 12:30. ASB will also be hosting Academy Carnival in May. We will have food trucks, games, and something. TMS student store is selling sports bags with a variety of items in it for only $50. If you want to buy a bag, please stop by our student store. The Camp Keep Committee is hosting this year's St. Patrick's Day dance on March 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. Pre-sale is in the student store for $5 and $8 at the door. PSATs are here if you would like to sign up. Please sign up at college-readiness.collegeboard.org/PSAT-NMSQT-PSAT-10/practice and pay $10 at the student store. The test is April 12th. Yearbooks are on sale now. If you buy this month, the price is $35. Next month, the price will go up $5. Beginning April, prices. Go to www.memorybook.com/parentday. Enter the day code 082248. If you have any questions, please contact Ms. Eagletalk at KEBELTOFT@skusd.k12.ca.us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Communication?
Just want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and I hope that I appreciate seeing everyone here, and we are really working as hard as we can. I know that there might be some missteps, and we're working on those. So just want to ask for your patience, and I think if we all work together on this, we can move forward on it. And hopefully we'll get to a place where we can just move forward and go on and the Southern Kern Unified School District.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for being here. Yes, it's nice to have participation and feedback. Unfortunately, sorry that you don't feel your questions are being answered. there are some things, like I know there are things I'm looking into, I need to learn more. I want to get the right answers, I want to make sure that I have the right information. So some of us, you know, we're looking into what is the right information. So sometimes it does take time, but I know we want to be well informed. And so that's not going to be just, I'm giving you an answer tonight. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're informed on any issues and things like that. And again, we know that many lives are at stake in jobs and things like that. So we're trying to do the best we can with the information we have. So anyway, thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Kern Robinson. Just want to let you know that because of our financial situation, we are being told what we can do and what we can't do in many situations. So things that we would love to address for you, we have financial constraints, and we're trying to take care of the things that are in our scope of being able to take care of it. So when you owe people money, they expect you to cooperate with them, and so we're trying to do that. So we have to be accountable to people, give them people we have to be accountable to also. And I want to remind you that the LCAP meeting is next week at 3:30, and they handle how money is distributed for improving the education of certain groups of students, which includes 75% of those students. So I just wanted to let you know that meeting is coming up. It's a way that you can get involved. Call Jan Wexler if you are interested in going to that meeting and getting involved.
I want to thank everybody for coming. And like she said, we encourage you to come and voice your opinion. A lot of times when I used to come, it was really frustrating because you pour your heart out and it looks like you're driving at nighttime and you hit that rabbit running across the road with a bunch of people just looking at you. So I don't want to be that person. I want to try to get you an answer if we can do it. I want to be active. I know a lot of times we say we're working hard, but I'm here to tell you tonight I'm frustrated. I don't feel like I'm working hard. I'm ready to work hard. I want answers. I want to get involved in these things. We made some tough decisions. First off, we looked at what bad programs can we get rid of. We couldn't find any. I wish we would have found a few of them, but we didn't find any bad programs. So we cut some pretty tough stuff, and we had to. And we think we have something that's going to work. I personally talked to the superintendent today. I want to be involved in every movement. I want to hear how it's being accomplished and how we're going to do what we said we were going to do. And I want to be in that 100%. There's going to be a learning curve. In every change we make, there's a learning curve. I'm sad to hear tonight we heard 16 people are going to leave, students, because we did what we did. I'm sad to hear that. I wish they would not leave. But we have to make decisions, and they're going to hurt. And they're going to hurt them 16, 17 students. I feel bad. But give us a chance. Let's get rolling. Let's get our sleeves up. Let's get dirty. Let's fight this. Let's go forward, and I believe we can make these things work. There's going to be hurdles to jump, and we're going to have difficulties, but I think we can overcome them.
Just like you said, we're not looking. We will be constantly trying to find new avenues to try to save the programs that we have. They may be a little bit different, but we will try as much as we can to save the programs that we can.
Marcus. I'm the Rosamond chapter classified president. What I'm passing out is just some of our recent cuts that we've had, which have only happened since you look for, I've highlighted dates for you, since December of 2017, which technically is only about a year ago. First cut, I'll tell you, was it was based off of workload, basically stating that there wasn't enough workload in these areas. Since then, we have had numerous occasions where the workload is just being done by someone else. This is concerning to us, and we want to bring it up again. We'll be bringing it up again in the future at negotiations. But quickly, I'll just go through the next one. If you notice, it's April 25th of 2018, and 21 employees were cut. 18 paraeducators got hit the hardest. If you go back to the third page, it is August 1st of 2018, just a few months after the last cut. And this one is not, it's drastic. It's 2 classified positions that were eliminated and 15 classified positions were reduced in some sort of way by losing hours, mostly. Not too many. You got like a half hour here, 20 minutes there, you know, nothing too major, but savings I understand. So now we're here at the 4th one, and it is 30 employees being cut. I wanted to point this out because if you take a look, there are a lot of the same positions from the first 3. What happened? That's kind of what we would like to know. But we understand the seriousness of the situation, and we are willing to work with the district. We would just like to see that the district work with us and listen to some of the ideas that we have brought up in the past and will continue to bring up in the future. As soon as we're done here today, I would assume that I'm going to be emailing or trying to get in contact with the district to start negotiations, because we would like to get this talked about and discussed so we can have a finalization for our classified members so that they can have some sort of comfort or other. But we just wanted to make sure that we brought it up, and we would like to be able to work with you. We hope that you hear our ideas and consider them. Board members, I encourage you to come to the sites and ask questions, check us out. We're doing our thing. We're providing daily work so that the students can come to school and learn. Without that, it's, you know, you're going to have this unsafe school, unsanitary school. If we can't get to the cleaning properly, teachers are going to be upset. It's just going to be an all-around down on the morale, which already is down. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're not allowed to talk about negotiations. RTA is not in negotiations. We don't have that opportunity at this time, and I've explained why repeatedly to the board. I apologize to the board for the sound of my voice, the coughing you're going to hear, and I don't know if I'll make it through the entire meeting. I apologize for that, but I'll push through it as much as I can. At the last meeting, I asked the board, you know, as we look at these programs, and you're talking about it tonight, how is the board going to look at these different options to make final decisions? Of course, I brought it up in terms of what process is going to be used by the board to possibly restore programs, as Mrs. Ojeda was talking about with the Southern Kern Prep Academy, but other programs that I want to touch upon as well. What process are you going to use? You're going to hear something a little bit odd here, a little bit different. I wrote down, you know, what process is being used to evaluate and decide about programs and services? Is it the district administration that's doing this, the interim superintendent and the CBO? Is it the county that's deciding what programs we can look at and what we can't? Is it site administration? Is it the board? What it is not is the RTA leadership, because we're not involved in any discussions. And I don't know about CSEA. If it's part of your negotiations, that's probably your opportunity to discuss it. But we haven't been part of these discussions to any degree throughout this entire process. I was looking at this notebook that I was given as we went into this whole program, which on the cover says the SKUSD Efficiency Budget Committee suggestions, and they even underlined the word suggestions. But what you've been given and what you've been provided is almost identical to the suggestions that were provided at the beginning. There's been no significant changes because there's been no significant discussions on what we're talking about here. When recommendations are made, they're not getting any kind of response. Again, as Mr. Hargis, I think, was saying. I talked with my site administrator today because we were working on, or yesterday, because we were talking about, you know, the adjustments we would like to see going on at Tropico. And I said, have you heard anything about those? And the response was no. We've asked about them, but we're not getting a response. We don't get the answers. Now, what you're going to hear here is a little bit odd and a little bit different. It's not your job, board members, to make these recommendations. It is the district administration's jobs to come up with options to present to the board, for then the board to vote on, much as you voted on the RIP resolutions. So my question still stands from the last meeting. What process is the district administration using to give you different options? Again, RTA, and it doesn't need to be me, but RTA leadership is not involved in any of these discussions. The only time I get meetings is when I ask for meetings. I'm not asked to be part of meetings, other than when we started this beginning of this process. It seemed like Mrs. Ojeda pretty much read some of the things that I have written down here. We talked about this. These programs and services, can they be restored for next year? Will they be restored? If you think they are, you're kidding yourselves. Once they're cut, they're going to be gone, and they will not come back. I've been around here long enough to understand how things work, and that's what's going to happen. And that's why I proposed the idea of going into the 1920 budget year, making a lot of these cuts that we're talking about, and I've said over and over that from the get-go, 2 years ago, I've been saying this, the teaching staff is teaching group is overstaffed, we need to cut, we need to cut, we need to cut. And finally, when that happens, now, not only are we cutting the teaching staff, but we're cutting programs because we have to go further than we should have had to go. So, you know, it took us 25 years to get elementary PE. 25 years. When it's gone, it will not come back. Don't kid yourselves. If Southern Kern Prep Academy goes to Abraham Lincoln, it will disappear. Unless the district administration works with the people who know that program and ask them for their direction for making that happen. Coming to them and saying, we want that program as part of Abraham Lincoln, or we want that program to be separate from Abraham Lincoln, but it can't cost us any more money than if it was part of Abraham Lincoln. How can we achieve this? You're the only people that know. I don't know. I'm not part of the program. Specialized services for our EDD students are going to be lost without Ascend Academy. Yes, I know that these classes will operate in a similar fashion at the sites, but not nearly to the extent that they're done currently by the teachers at Ascend Academy. Mr. Finbrace, I know. And again, Terry raised the question about the ROTC program because I spent time on the phone talking to people who were asking questions about that program, people who know that program and have a serious concern about the district's support for that program. Is it being allowed to die, or is it being worked to save that program? And I can tell you for a fact, those teachers are members of my bargaining unit, and they are paid off of my salary schedule. I'm sorry, the RTA salary schedule. I take ownership, I'm sorry. They're paid off the RTA salary schedule. They're paid a lot more than the MIP, depending on what their background is and what they qualify for under the bargaining agreement. That could be easily reflected in the advertising for the programs. One other thing is that, honestly, the district seems to have changed its approach for the dual enrollment program. RTA raised questions about how that program works and how the high school teachers that are involved in that program are paid and what their work hours are, and we wanted to find an approach to address that. And we were going in a direction to try to get that fixed, and then all of a sudden that direction seemed to change without any information given to RTA or given to the people who are involved in that program. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen to it. I haven't had the recent discussions on it, but quite honestly, I think the dual enrollment program is going to start to see a decline and will eventually then disappear if we don't collaborate and find a way to keep that in place. But maybe the dual enrollment program isn't important to the district and to the board. I don't know. That's your choice. And now it's being suggested that all libraries are going to get closed. We had this discussion a few years ago. You've got 3 resource technicians and librarians on your layoff list today, which means those libraries are scheduled to be closed. I work at Tropico, and I know that position is scheduled to disappear. We heard passionate discussions from teachers about why we need libraries with books, not digital library systems, and that can't change. One of the discussions we had in a meeting with the county and the county representatives, they said very clearly, we need to make all the cuts we can without affecting the educational program for our students. Cutting PE and closing the libraries, those are going to affect the educational programs for our students. And because of this lack of communication, we just have this tremendous amount of unease and growing unrest. I have 26 teachers on the layoff list. I have 13 more teachers that are being displaced and moved into other jobs. I asked HR yesterday for a matrix to say, okay, where are these positions going to go? When can I start to get a visual viewpoint of where these teachers are going to end up? Because they need to make decisions about their career. Are they going to stay with Southern Kern, or are they going to go to another district? And they're coming to me looking for answers that I usually have and I don't have at this time. It's a little earlier than normally we would, but because of all of this unease and unrest, the teachers need to know as soon as possible. So I was shocked to find out that we don't have this matrix yet as to what positions we are actually going to need, what teaching positions we are actually going to need. And it was this week that we were going to be starting to ask the site principals to develop their master schedules for next year. I'm sorry, how did we decide what layoffs and displacements are going to be put into place when we don't even have master schedules for next year? But I've got to answer these questions to the teachers who are asking me every day while I'm teaching my 5 classes. And I can provide time, I can make time within my classes without affecting the instruction of my students if I'm being asked to provide that. And also with the other RTA leadership, but we need to be involved. CSA needs to be involved evidently through the negotiations process. We're stuck in negotiations, as you know. I have ways we can resolve that, but I just don't know if that's going to occur. We want to be part of the solution. As I've said before, we've been down this road before, but if we're not being asked to be included, there's nothing we can do. And again, it is up to the district administration to provide you with options, and then you need to decide which options are best for our students and for our budget. I don't know what process is being put into place to provide you with those options. I think that's what a lot of us are asking for, is that communication and understanding where are we at in this process. Thank you very much, and I apologize. I'll try to stick it out.
Thank you.
Aaron. So, 2 things. The legislative analyst office came out this month. They're a nonpartisan department in the state that analyzes how we're doing, they analyze legislation. They came out and said all those things that the governor proposed in January, with extra money, best not count on it. The way the economy is going, probably in a recession. It just hasn't been clear yet. So the LAO came out and said any extra money, it's best not to plan on it. So best case scenario for us is status quo next year in terms of funding. Worst case would be decreasing us at the Prop 98, and that's completely possible because ADA throughout the state is dropping. is less children in middle school. Prop 98 is fully funded. Number two, we had to borrow $250,000 from the county today to pay our bills. $250,000. This is just operating bills last month. So our borrowing at this point is $2,050,000 for the county.
Is that amount there?
$2,050,000.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming. As you just listened to Eric's report, we are continuing to need to borrow money. These events are not something that we want to do, but something that is necessary for us to do do what we can to be able to minimize those. And I can assure you that we certainly are working on those programs and the things that I've said that we are going to do. We are working on that process, and sometimes it does take time. We are working on our master schedules for next year. Those will all be due March 25th, and then we'll be meeting with the principals, and then we will be posting those positions for those displaced teachers when we come back from spring break. Thank you.
Consent items, approve minutes from February 8th, and approve purchase orders 920373 through 920381. Ratified February's monthly payroll. Ratified agreement with KCSOS for student support and academic program. Somebody have questions on it? No, that's the original program that we agree with the county as a grant to help our low-achieving group of students that.
We talked about last year.
Yes. Hang on a second.
This is actually a grant opportunity that we went through. There are about 10 other districts in Kern County that are part of this grant, so this is about $46,000 for us. And it's really to implement the PBIS program. We'll be sending some staff towards the end of March. I believe it's the 26th, 27th, and 28th to participate. And then we will be spreading that program out. We have from now until September spent that $46,000.
A motion to approve the consent items.
Motion by Ms. Grant. Second. Second by Ms. Bennett. All in favor? Aye. Five ayes. Excluded. Awesome. Aye. Personnel items. Discussion and action on resolution 18/1917. Reducing and removing state contract. Services for the 1920 school year.
Public comment here include housing.
Hi, I'm here to speak about the Ascend Academy. You guys are closing the site, which you keep calling a site, yet it's its own school. It has a principal secretary, it has a principal, but you keep saying it's just a program, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. We still have to pay a contract on the buildings that we're using right now, which are self-contained. So how is it going to save money moving us to the other sites? That, again, doesn't make sense. At the other sites, the classrooms will not be self-contained. We are going to, if we have a child acting up, have to put the child in a hold, move them out of our classroom to the calm down room, which is said to be nearby, while in a hold. That leaves the teacher with one parent in there and one parent in the calm down room with the child, which is not safe. Parents are always supposed to have two people anytime they're alone with the child. Also, we saw the cuts. It said they're going to cut paras from us. It said they're going to cut CSOs, yet we've been assured that going to the sites, there are going to be plenty of staffing to help us. How is this possible when we're cutting CSOs and cutting paras? And then we also would like to know how is the PBS program going to work at the different sites. Right now, from my understanding, all the prizes that are given to the students have been donated by the Ascend Academy staff. It has not been funded from the school district. Yet we were told that they're going to try to implement the PBIS program throughout the district for everyone, but we're in a budget crisis. So these are just some questions that we'd like answered because we're worried about our students. Our students are already acting out of fear, frustration, and stress. There have been more incidences since the topic of Ascend closing than normal, and that's dangerous to our students. That's impairing their learning, and it's dangerous to the staff also.
Thank you.
So, moving to the sites is also part of our being in compliance with the state of California. So the way we run it now, a lot of the students do not have enough general education minutes. So every year for the last 3 years, Ms. Taylor has had to write a compliance report to the state explaining how we're going to fix these inequities. So currently, and she shared this this afternoon at our administrative meeting, how exactly, and she has met with the administration staff after school sites extensively. She's working on that plan with them as to which students are going to be in which class once they arrive at those school sites. They also will be taking some field trips over to those school sites to acquaint them. Fortunately, we have numerous students that are currently mainstream, so the hope is that they're going to be possibly moved out of that program into maybe a mild class or something of that nature once they get to those school sites. But that certainly is a program that we are working to make sure that those students are successful when they get back to the regular school sites.
I have a question. So you say that they're moving it because they're not getting enough general education time, but we were also told today that they are not going to be forced if they do not want to join the general classes for lunch or fees, so they still will not be getting their general education time. So how does that justify it?
They'll still, so what that means is if the student is not ready to mainstream into a general education classroom, we're not going to take them dragging them into those classrooms. We're going to wait until they're prepared. Maybe they go out for 5 minutes of the regular, maybe the last 5 minutes of the gen ed recess, where then maybe they have an extra few minutes where it's just their class. So Ms. Taylor is going to work specifically with those teachers and with the administration to, remediate as many issues as we possibly can.
What about the calm down room? Like how exactly
part of the staff leaving,
My understanding is that they'll be right next to each other, the classrooms.
but they're not connected. You still have to leave and go into another room.
The concern is that it usually takes 2 or 3 people to escort a student when there is an issue. So you're leaving the other students in the classroom alone, essentially, especially with already cutting so many staff members.
Right. There are campus safety officers.
Right, but you guys are also moving by 4 already.
We definitely are looking into all the aspects, and we are going to make this transition as seamless as we possibly can.
Can I make a comment on that? I am familiar with the classrooms that they are looking at to do, put the behavior classrooms at. I have been at Ascend, so I do understand. Number one, you can't transport in a hold. There is a transport, but you cannot transport in a hold with a child that's acting out. Therefore, taking them from a classroom where they're already acting out and moving them outside of that to an outside environment with who knows what factors are out there, and then trying to force them into another room to get them separated from the situation, it doesn't play well for anybody involved. I do have a suggestion. The classroom does have 2 bathrooms. It's just like the classrooms at Ascend. However, one of them is at Ascend, it's a calm down room and the other is a bathroom. At West Park, it's a children's bathroom and a staff bathroom. My recommendation is to use the children's bathroom because the toilets are tiny. It was like for preschool. Cap all that off, and then you have your calm down room. And then you do not expose those kids to being taken out of a classroom and outside and causing dangers. And then your staff is all still in the same classroom. Might be cheaper in the long run too.
I talked several times with some of the teachers. I went over too and I see the concern, and it's heartbreaking. And like I said before, this is going to be a learning curve. And when we sit down and decide, and I went today and sort of talked a little bit to the superintendent about when we're going to start deciding to get involved in this. And unfortunately, I was told by the RTA, just represented, told us that that's not really our job. We'll be giving some options. But my concern was that room. And when the time came, why can't we build a little room? That may be an option, just like we did over there. So we're thinking about all that stuff. But when it finally gets to where we can make a decision, that's why I went to her today, and frankly, I was a little frustrated. I wanted to figure this stuff out now. And they are working on it, and so when they bring it, that's going to be my suggestion is let's build a little room. Why can't we do that? It doesn't cost that much, and I think we can do it. So that'll be my suggestion. When it comes, that's what I'm doing.
I think that's part of the issue. Is you're the only one that I've seen participate on the campus. I don't need you guys to understand the logistics of putting a child in a hold and how dangerous it can be. These aren't even children. These are adults, young teens who can act out anywhere.
My 14-year-old son, he's
who can hurt themselves and hurt other people. So what you're asking us to do is dangerous. And come check it out. Come see it
right now.
Yourself.
We're not asking you because the board has not seen what.
Exactly. Come check it out.
But we're going to
come check it out.
That's why we look. When they come and say, "Hey, we're going to do this," I'm going to say we probably need to build a room in there. And once they propose how they want to handle it, we've got opinions of what we think we should do, and we're going to voice at least. I know a few of us is going to voice it. So
we've had over 19 suspensions just for fighting, for violence, for terrorist threats. Just the last month.
It's a very tough.
You can't get a good idea without
they tell us shutting down anyway. We don't care.
My son said, "You're taking my family away."
We're not shutting down. We don't care. We do care.
You've seen the calm down rooms.
I've seen them. We do care. But until we get in front of us a game plan, and we're working on that game plan, then we'll fix it. We'll fix it. And my very beginning, from the very time I got on board, was I want you guys involved. We're going to talk a little bit about that later.
Well, we want you guys involved. We want you to come to the site. I'll show you
For
around.
coming to the site, because you have a good perspective now. We would love to have you guys come to the site and see exactly what it's like being there.
Probably that there'd be a lawsuit because a staff member or another student gets hurt. Like Mr. Finger said, these are big students, and we have 3 men on campus. And it usually takes, 4 to 5 adults to handle some of these students. It's not a joke. I know some of you guys have walked through, but it's been all, sunshine. You haven't been there when we've had to be in these holds for an hour and then have to talk these kids down. It's a hot mess. It's real.
Threatening to kill themselves.
It's going to be a difficult one. We're going to learn.
All the time. We have sheriffs, we have ambulances,
I know.
We have a laptop before something.
Exactly.
And it's our job to turn around and to make this community better. And without that, and you put a target on their back, you can say there might be, there might not be, there's going to be a stigma. It's stated above, Abraham Lincoln has a stigma, Ascend Academy.
We want to fix that. We want to fix that. It should be a part of our district. It should be a school that we're all proud of that we have. It shouldn't be, I go to Abraham Lincoln. I don't want a diploma from Abraham Lincoln or from here. I want it from Rosamond. It should be something that we're all proud of.
Yeah. I've successfully transitioned maybe 5 students, tried in my 3 years, 10, and you're asking us to transition our entire school.
Ones that are transitioning are the ones that can.
We understand.
Successfully 5, maybe. Tried 10 in my 3 years.
We tried. We had a student go over to TMS, transition before the office, and they called us to come get him. They're not going to be able to do that.
Did you guys have a student girl transfer or transition to RHS?
Oh, RHS, yes.
Yes.
Yes. I think it's an RHS, I'm sorry. Yes, RHS, yes.
Okay, so just the other day, a student was transitioning from Ascend to RHS, and 2 days in a row, she found something that was going to hurt herself. And if we don't have a campus safety officer close by or paraeducators that are being cut, something's going to happen, and it's going to be a bad thing.
I get told I'm going to get in trouble because I talk too much. But my heart goes out. My heart goes out to the children. And I really want to help them. But it's hard.
The other staff members are prepared for what they're getting into.
We got to get them prepared.
Yes, I agree.
We got to get them prepared.
One of them is concerned, and I'm not prepared. So tell me how you think you're going to be prepared.
I can say that
I
again.
have to call this gentleman and say, help me.
You're one of the teachers over there?
I work here, and I'm going to be losing my job, and my kid is losing this. It's a lot to take. And I call these people to help me.
I feel really bad for you.
And he's not even a worst case scenario.
No, exactly.
But we're going to make this work. We're going to make it work. I'm believing we're going to make it work. We're going to work hard, and we're going to get it. We will. But we need everybody. We need everybody. I can't sit up here, the staffs can't sit up here and say they're going to make it. You guys can't sit there and say you can make it. We all have to work to make this work. The parents, everybody. It's going to be tough.
So are they going to be paid for to go to Yellen or to Aurora, which are, in essence, they're out of district and they are correction. They have guards. Are we going to pay for our students?
Yellen does not have guards.
I know, but Aurora does.
Yes.
So are we going to
I'm a praying man, and I believe let's pray and let's don't hope that doesn't happen.
But that doesn't answer the question.
Yeah, but we can't just say what if. We can what if all day long.
We know they're capable of us.
Yeah, but let's pray, let's work. Let's work together, and I think we can try something. We've got to try something.
I don't think you guys either, too. When one of those kids are brought before you for doing something they're not supposed to, you won't even know their story and their history.
But what if it does work?
Well,
What
awesome.
if there is a positive outcome? What if? What if this is good for them?
The question is what if.
How's it going to happen?
That's how.
It's going to happen with our support.
gonna happen
Because
regardless, whether
I agree, you guys know, I know all of you, I've worked with you all, okay? I understand where you're coming from. But the thing is that regardless, something has to happen. It's not working the way it is. So instead of all of us fighting, we all need to come together to fix it and solve the solution. Like, have a solution to this problem.
It's not that it's not working, it's just,
I'm not gonna point fingers because I've seen things my personally. Things aren't working. So what if this does work? What if this is positive? What if this gives these kids people to look up to, their own peers that are making positive choices? What if this helps? We try to send. Unfortunately, I still go there every day. I'm there every day picking up those kids, and I still hear the language. I still hear the staff being threatened. I still hear some of the things that some of the staff say back that they really shouldn't be saying. And no, oh, please don't even get me started over there. But the thing is, what if this is the change that Ascend needs right now? It's not going to hurt those kids to have their peers, positive peers to look up to. They don't have that right now.
But I just know that since my son has found out about this, his decline in his grades, his attitude, everything.
And I hear that, Lori. I see that. As a staff member, I also see the morale across the district.
Oh, we have no morale anymore.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
So it's time that the district as a whole picks it up and does what needs to be done to move forward.
SKUSD resolution.
Is there any discussion between the board itself?
Motion by Mr. Leonard. Second. All in favor? All in favor? Verified by it passes. Personnel items. Do I have a motion to accept personnel? Second.
Aye.
And Carol Rose is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, passes. Second reading and approval of board policies. And thank you for presenting.
For the policies, we need to be reading them. The change part, yes. If there's a change part that needs to be read for the board policies.
Yeah, we went through all these, there were changes that had to be made because of changes in the law and things that applied to our district. So there were some policies that had to be changed.
Which were invited to have the
Yeah, right.
Well, we voted for a couple of our board members to put on that policy committee.
Right.
And they're working on that. And before I say yay or nay, I want to know what I'm saying yay and nay to.
Right.
So can we table this
We finished
and
that.
get some copies of it this week?
You guys didn't get a copy?
No, I didn't get copies.
We did,
Yeah,
but not the board and not the public. So if we're approving board policies that are there's changes, we need to state what those are.
Yeah, because the two of us can't make the policy for the whole board.
No,
We need to let you know what those changes are.
I don't know. Can we just table it?
I'll make a motion, we table it, if we get a copy, there we go.
I'd like to see a copy.
Second by Mr. Leonard, all in favor?
Hang on. Yeah, I got that. Maybe it's for Eric. Eric, and I don't know again if it's my right or anything, but I would like to see more of the bids that are going out for some of these jobs that are coming in, and know a little bit more about that. Who's actually getting a bid, and I'd like to know what the bid was. If I'm entitled to that, I'd like to, let's see, I'd like to know about some overtime. It seems like there's quite a bit of overtime going on in certain areas. I'd like to see the need for it and the justifications for it. And if we have higher paid employees watching contractors all night long, why couldn't we have someone else doing that? I'd like to know a little bit about that. I'd like to know a little bit about the maintenance budget, how much money they have in there, and how much they spend, and sort of a little bit of how they spend it. I'm a little bit familiar with maintenance departments, and let me tell you, that bucket can have a lot of holes in it. And that's one way I learned to do financials is, old man told me one time, if you got a bucket with a bunch of holes in it, learn to plug up them holes and you do a lot better in life. So, is it okay that I ask for that stuff?
Yeah. In terms of bidding, there's a threshold for bidding. So, when we go get quotes for just getting paid things, usually it's whether it's local, we'll first solicit. We can't find someone local. Say, for instance, the fire alarms, that basically Siemens. We have no choice. We have to work with Siemens. We just got a quote for working on the fire alarm. At the high school, we're working in the kitchen, it's almost $3,000 to do that work. We cannot pay the president. So that's an instance where we have no choice.
Well, one thing, I talked to you about the plumbing situation. I noticed that our bids were from big companies. Randy Pumping can probably do just as good a job, and he's local in our town. I'm just using the name. It's not there. Why can't we use that guy? Instead of using these big companies, let's try to shop a little bit local. If they're going to save us money, and I believe there's money to be saved. Are we going to Home Depot and Lowe's and buying materials? And we have a hardware store here in town that can beat or match prices.
We go to Carl's often. We used to go, when I was here before, it was more often than shilling. But now, when we pick up something quickly, we do have a whole purchase order for Carl's often. They will go to those when the local hardware store doesn't have what we need in stock. We really need it that day. Our facilities, so Calvin, the way that school finance works, we have to spend at least X amount of dollars on facilities needs. That was determined when LCFF came into law. That's, for us, that amounts to almost $900,000 for our total general fund budget. That has to go towards maintenance costs. And that's a floor. We have to spend at least that much money on that particular need. So we do charge not only facility, but facility staff to that charge.
Isn't there a bidding process as well?
There's a bidding process. We are a school district. TUPCA is a program that the state has that allows us to informally bid projects up to $175,000. So a vendor will let us know, hey, I'm interested in being a bidder for you guys. So we'll have them to our database. Anytime we have a project, we will solicit, we will let them know we have a job walk or this is the project, we submit the quote for this work. Supervision of the construction project, we're directly working
Mrs. Hargis, could I request that we get a copy of the Ascend classes, the levels of the classes? Are they mild, moderate? Are they moderate? Are they severe? How many students and staff are in each class? So that we can have more information on that program. And then I'd also like to recommend at the LCAT meeting next week that there's some type of interactive process for the stakeholders to have their input, not just raise your hand if you have a question. Perhaps there's some posters and people can go around and collaborate and put down ideas so it's more interactive and stakeholders can be more involved in the process. So I would recommend that.
In terms of overtime, we've cut overtime dramatically. This year we spent overtime, we paid 10% of what we paid last year. So we haven't really reduced overtime all over the district. We do require more prior authorization for overtime. Most of the teachers overtime is for IED. Staff with that unit, we do compound as well, which compound can even be used, we pay it out at the end of the year. We have overtime, and we can buy it, we use since last year.
I don't understand. I have never been paid to go to an IEP. It was part of my job. I don't understand why we have to pay for IEPs. It's part of your professional job duties. Just, I don't get that.
I mean, I personally participated in IEPs for my son, and I can tell you it takes a long time. It's just compensating for the time they stay in an IEP beyond the work day. Some IEPs can go for hours on end. So the compensation, additional contract as well. It's fair for the time of the minutes. If an IEP goes beyond the work day, then we do get our compensation for that.
Also, I'd like you to, you oversee the maintenance department. Sort of keep an eye on the traveling on it and the traveling. And if we do have to send somebody to Home Depot or Lowe's, which I really don't see why we have to ever, but make sure we send one employee instead of two. They load anything from toilet paper to forklifts. There's no reason we need to send two people to help carry a pair of pliers. Try to really encourage that, please.
I try to encourage that only one person at a time, but
see, there's a lot of holes in the bucket that I'm looking at. So, yeah, we hit big teachers, we made them do all that, but we need to look at everything. Everything.
I do want to say in our maintenance department, we have fewer employees than we have the last few years. They're doing a great job. Basically, we're unable financially to do preventive maintenance. We can't get ahead of things, and they have to fix things as they come along. They're doing a really good job. Our HVACs are working great. When there's a need or there's someone there, ground crew is doing a great job as well. Everyone's really picked it up. There's definitely less people in maintenance, but they're still doing an excellent job. And it's evidenced by the tickets that we submit every month. You just see it's anything and everything comes to the facility. It's very
facility maintenance is a huge job. I understand that quite well. Another thing is, another great department we got, and I went and visited, is our transportation department. Our two guys are doing, as far as the maintenance over there, them two guys are doing a wonderful job keeping that old stuff. But I noticed we do have a lot of old equipment over there. Some buses, I don't know if we're paying some type of insurance or if we're paying something on these things to sit there for years. Maybe it's time to look at how legally we can get rid of them. And we do have an old, I don't know what year Chevy pickup, and that's something we probably should throw away. We should put on Craigslist and try to, that's probably worth a little bit of money there. I think we got some old trucks in this district that's laying around in the yard that we can pull out and sell and get rid of. But my biggest concern was that, are we paying registration or insurance or something on them?
No, those are all non-operational.
Okay, then we probably need to get rid of them because it's like a scrapyard.
Yeah, I plan on putting them on the bid auction now. It's just a matter of getting all information together to do that.
Okay. And I don't want to be like pushy, but it seems like since December, we haven't seen anything going, so can you give me a date when that auction can get going, please?
I'll advertise it. Yeah, it's just a matter of making sure the information you put on there is correct. And it's all going to be with parts.
What about the scrapyard at maintenance? Are you going to put that on either?
Unfortunately, the scrap is no longer really valuable.
There's some good stuff over there.
I love basketball hoop.
That's on a long list of things to do. I brought it up. I was going to take care of it.
I have one more issue. I went over to West Park and I sort of talked a little bit, and which I was confused a little bit tonight because we said we're cutting all the libraries. Because I talked to West Park and they're actually going to have a librarian there for 3.5 hours a day. That was what was proposed to happen. But my concern was when we put together our committees, I asked that we get everyone involved. I talked to them over there and they told me what their proposal was. Their proposal was to cut the custodian, which that came from not only them, but the custodian staff. They talked about cutting a 6-hour office clerk and making the librarian, which anytime we get a volunteer, wow, that's fantastic, to assume 2 duties, part-time librarian and part-time office clerk.
You can't do that.
Well, that's when we need to talk to negotiation. I mean, do you guys care about the children? I mean, this is something that we can save a job and we can get the librarian.
You're taking away a job. If you have volunteers, you take away a job.
Well, we're cutting. We can negotiate and we need you guys to help us with that. I'm ready for negotiation. I'm ready. I'm learning some cool things. And I've been reading all your the teachers' benefit book and all that, and I'm getting ready for the negotiations. I think we can work it out, though. And I want to hear you guys. It's not just me. Who am I? I want to hear you guys. You guys are the experts. You're teachers.
Keep coming to the sites.
I'm coming.
Have you enjoyed our pond out here?
I enjoy the pond. We talked about the pond. Me and Eric had real good conversations about the fishing hole. We're going to put fish in.
That might make some money.
Start having fish in.
Stock the pond, charge.
Stock the
there
pond.
You go.
We make some money.
We need a fishing hole.
I know that's just funny stuff, but it's designed to do what it was supposed to do. That's our problem. And we get a problem, now, if we pump it out on the street, we're in trouble. But that stupid pond is designed to do what it's doing, and it's frustrating that whoever approved that approved it. You know? I talk about that. That's a heartache. That school's a heartache for me. It should have been built on the other side of town, if you ask me. But there's nothing, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Until we can get permission to cut it so it goes out into the street, we're stopped. I try to get the water district to come over with a big pump truck and pump it. We tried everything. You see it, we see it. I don't know if we can fill it with fish.
Probably looks like my street.
No, it's worse than your street. That's it. Thank you so much. She seconded down here already. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Thanks everybody for coming.
I didn't